Hey, welcome back to the 13th episode of Slightly Burnt Toast.
Is it our 13th?
Yes.
What if I got the numbers wrong?
I don't know. Then we screw it up. Then we have a missing episode, and we'll call it the secret episode that people have to buy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sounds good. Let's do that.
Yeah, because money's always good. I don't know.
Money
I feel
is
like
good,
a greedy
yeah.
asshole right now, but you know.
Well, welcome back to another episode of our podcast. If you're new here, welcome.
If you're not new, then thanks for listening to our ramblings because, you know, I know a lot of it's pointless, but
You must really like us if you keep tuning in.
Yeah.
Like if you keep coming back and listening to us
Or
ramble.
nobody listens to us and everybody hates us at this point.
yeah.
We'll never know.
We just have 0 listeners.
Was that your Malaysian accent that
I
just
think
came
so.
out?
Yeah.
Listeners.
Listeners.
Listeners that.
Well, TLDR, I did grow up in Malaysia, so in case anyone is wondering, sometimes the accent does kind of creep up in the corner of my mind.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm here. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cute, though, when it comes out.
Do you like it?
I don't mind the Malaysian accent. There's some accents where I'm like, it's kind of hard to listen to.
Yeah.
But Malaysian accent's not bad. It's easy to understand. And, like, you can understand exactly what the other person is saying.
Yeah.
But there's some where you're just like, I don't know what you're trying to say. I'm doing my best to, like, understand.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, the Malaysian accent, my accent isn't super strong to begin with anyway when I was growing up there. And when I moved to Canada, I think I told you this actually, because I wanted to work in media, I had to really lean into my Canadian/American accent because that's just the law of the land. But when I do switch to my Malaysian accent now, it always takes a little bit of time for me to readjust my brain because it's like, who are you? So my accent for the first little bit when I go back to Malaysia is a little bit weird. Like, I feel like Malaysians would be like, what kind of accent is that? Because I'm just confused. And your first time to really, truly hear my Malaysian accent was when we went back not too long ago.
It wasn't that bad, honestly.
It wasn't that bad, no?
Yeah.
I went full on Malaysian.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, one of my old roommates when I used to live with, like, Shu and Kim.
Yeah.
Like, they had friends over, like, all the time that were Malaysian, so I remember, like, hearing and listening to them speak. And
Yeah.
I never had a hard time understanding what you guys are trying to say.
Yeah, for the most part, the accent is very easy to understand. It just sounds like you're singing. That's how I like to describe it. It's like you're singing a song.
Yeah.
Every word is like dragged on a little bit,
I
or
mean,
you always add something at the end.
I don't know if I would say it's like singing per se. I always find like Spanish or like Portuguese speakers, I feel like their language is actually very like pleasant to like listen to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. But Malaysian sounds fun.
It does.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
think that's
sounds
a really
fun, yeah.
good description, actually. It is a very fun language because it's like you have a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of nuances attached to it. Like la, it's like there's no meaning whatsoever, but you're like, oh, you look good today, la.
Yeah.
But it's just like that extra thing that you need to add to the end of a sentence for it to feel complete.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I do really like though? They always say Canadians have no culture, but like totally disagree. You ever hear like Canadian accents, especially in Newfoundland or like Alberta, the prairies and stuff like that?
A little bit.
It's like, oh, hey, how's it going, eh, bud? How you doing, eh?
Hey, how you doing, eh?
I love it. Go Canada.
Actually, yeah, you're right. That's true. There is a little bit of an accent. I never noticed it before. It was just like, oh, it's just a white people accent. But yeah, you're right. There is a distinct sound to how Canadians say certain words, etc., compared to like American. So.
Yeah, I mean, America's got so many accents too. Like you have like Tennessee, Texas, and then Boston.
Oh yeah,
Boston.
Boston. I like the Boston
that.
accent.
Really?
Yeah, and I also like the New York accent. Actually, it's kind of fun.
I don't even know what the New York accent is.
It's kind of like the Boston accent. I can't replicate it, but it's just fun to listen to them talk because it's like, I don't know, there's something about it that just energizes you in a way, makes you like think faster and like respond faster.
Yeah.
But then you have the West Coast, like Los Angeles
West
accent.
Coast is weird.
Or like the Valley Girl accent.
Is
like,
that
you
the
know,
Valley
like
Girl
today
accent?
is so nice and sunny and
Oh,
this
God.
is my
I
Erewhon
hate it.
smoothie.
Why
It
can't they
tastes
just
so
talk
good.
normally? Why is everything gotta be like, oh my god?
Oh my god.
I hate it.
I mean, I know you. I know you wouldn't like that accent. So you would prefer the New York and Boston accent, actually.
Yeah. I mean, like, to be fair, I don't know if Vancouver's like that because we are technically West Coast.
No, we don't really have that Valley girl accent because it's just a different culture in Vancouver, I feel. Like, if anything, you have the Chinese accent.
Well, only in, like, Richmond, maybe.
I guess so, yeah. But I think it's just, like, I haven't heard anyone speak like this. You know, like, I haven't.
True. Yeah. Definitely hearing it in LA for the first time was... Okay, to be fair, not everybody in LA talks like that.
No.
So just like a handful here and there. And whenever you hear, just like...
It's always influencers.
Bro, talk like a... Maybe that is you talking normally, so, you know, I'm sorry if I'm being ignorant, but, you know. Anyway, we probably shouldn't talk about accents, like, the entire
Well, we're
episode.
not, like, insulting a cultural accent. It's just more like... I think because there's such a huge reality TV culture or whatever in Los Angeles because it's Hollywood, etc. So I guess that's just how people speak. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what? When I go to LA and I converse more and more with people who does speak like that, I end up speaking like that too. So I really can't say anything.
Yeah, when in Rome, you know, you kind of blend in with the culture as much as you can.
I'm also a Gemini, so I adapt.
That's a weird thing to say, but okay.
No, it's true. Anyway.
Gemini have two faces.
No. I had this conversation with a girlfriend, and it's not true. Like, Geminis don't have two faces. We just adapt depending on our situations.
I was just joking. You don't need to take it personally. They're just twins, you know? Anyway. Okay, so what we actually want to talk this episode was about the Black Mirror thing, right? The latest season, episode 1.
Yeah. I think for this, before you continue that last word that I would have to bleep out, is that because it's such a new season, this is going to be a spoiler episode.
Yes.
Yeah. So
spoiler warning.
Yeah, it's episode 1 that we're going to talk about in the new season of Black Mirror that just went live on Netflix. Mm-hmm. So there are spoilers. If you are thinking of watching it, just stop. Just stop, because we're going to spoil the entire thing.
Yeah, just delete us.
Not delete us, but go watch it and then come back.
No. Just go to the next podcast or like what? I don't know. Go for a walk. Yeah.
But yes, we're going to be talking about episode 1. Yes. I can't remember the name of the episode, but it was really good.
Yeah.
Black Mirror.
Good. Disgusting. I felt disgusted at the end of it.
Okay. Well, for people who do want to be spoiled, do you want to give us a quick rundown on what that episode was, and then we can dive into it?
Right. So basically it's just advancement of technology, which is like, you know, always amazing. But then it kind of goes into subscription culture of like the business model. And then what happens when you're subscribed to something that you can no longer unsubscribe from, right? Like your life literally just depends on it. And for the most part, you know, I would argue that we are kind of sleepwalking into that in sort of like society right now, because what happens if this thing that you've integrated your whole life around, let's say like, you know, Google, for example, just decides, hey, you have to start paying like $10 a month. And then they just start increasing the price. Then you end up with a company like Apple.
Well, you're totally right, because we do live currently in a subscription-based culture. Like Netflix is subscription-based. They raise the prices every, few months.
Oh my God, it's so annoying.
Every single streaming service is subscription-based. Spotify is subscription-based. I don't know. There's a ton of things in our life that are subscription based. So we're already living in it. But I think the reason why that particular episode probably made you feel disgusted, or like it really hit a nerve with a lot of people, is because what happens if healthcare becomes subscription based, right? But basically it's taking that idea. So I mean, Black Mirror, if you haven't really watched it, I don't know why you haven't, because it's a really good series. It's been around for years. It basically brings you into a world where technology advances to such an extent where like you can't escape it, and it becomes really, really scary. So even though we currently already live in a subscription-based culture, in this particular episode, you see a husband and wife, which like everything is fine and dandy, and then she gets into an accident where like it's fatal. Like
tumor.
Is it a brain tumor? Yeah. Oh, they found a brain tumor, and she was like, it was a really bleak outcome for her, and like basically they were alluding to the fact that she's gonna die.
Yeah.
Right. And then they introduce this character or this company that comes in where they're selling a subscription-based model. Well, you don't really know it's subscription-based at this point. They're like, oh, okay, all we need to do is kind of replicate her brain into our technology and then remove the tumor. But then if anything goes wrong, it's okay because we can re-upload whatever parts of her brain that we backed up, right? So that's the premise of this technology at the start. So obviously, as a husband who's afraid that he's going to lose his wife, is like, sure, like, how much is it? And she gives him a price and he's like, okay, I can do that. I just take extra shifts with my job, right? They're not super rich or anything like that. And then she wakes up, it's great, and then she starts to realize that there are all these little add-ons similar to different subscription services that we all have. But the problem here is that it's attached to her life. Like things like you can't travel because the towers can send signals to this part of your brain because you're attached to a computer system, right? Or like you need to sleep 16 hours in a day because you need to upload whatever tech or you need to reboot unless you buy the next tier of our subscription service.
Right. And that is probably the most frustrating thing because I'm sure if you're listening, you can already draw parallels to what we see now.
Yeah.
Which is like, you pay for, Netflix, let's say you pay for Netflix, there's like the ad-free tier, but then if you don't want to spend that much, then you have the tier where ads get played. And, at this point, we're just back to cable, which was also a subscription back in the day. Why don't we just like, fuck it, let's just jump ahead and just go straight back to cable, like nothing's changing. So, but I think the key differentiator here is that if we don't like Netflix, and this is why I think competition is good in business, right? Like there should never be any big monopoly. If you don't like the service, you can always quit. In this scenario, quitting literally meant like the wife is going to die. And so you're like stuck between a rock and a hard place and there's nowhere to go. And it's just like, I think the very first hurdle that they face is, well, one, obviously the husband is working a lot of extra shifts and he's just like tired. You can see him burning out. And then they throw the curveball and say, oh, this company now is doing a trial to try and make some more money, where basically the girl or the wife hears something and just spits out an ad and she doesn't realize she's doing it. So there's like this weird like scene where, a little kid like goes up to her because she's a teacher and is like, like so-and-so's happening at home, and alluding to the fact that like the dad might be abusive, and she spits out like a Jesus Christ advertisement being like, are you having a hard time at home, not sure where to turn, then visit this www.christ.com or some shit. And it was just like, okay, like as a teacher there's certain ways of like doing things that you need control over, right? But she now lost that control because the company was saying, you're not paying enough, so
we're gonna run ads through you.
Gross.
Isn't that so messed up? Because like there was one scene where they were trying to have sex too, and she was like, do you need lubrication?
yeah. And the dude was just like, what the hell is going on? Because they didn't know at the time, right?
No, they didn't know at the time. But like, it's one of those scummy things that companies do as they continue to like want to make more and more money. It's that you didn't sign up for this in the first place, right? And then all of a sudden you have ads that you didn't ask for, all these other add-ons that they sneak into your current subscription that annoy you. But then like you said, like if it's just a subscription service like Spotify or whatever, you're like, oh, that's fine. If I hate this, I'm just gonna cancel it. But then in this scenario, it's a world where you can't cancel it because then you're going to kill someone that you love.
Which is tough. Like putting that aside, the technology they allude to is like a synthetic tissue you put in the brain, connects to like some cloud service, and then helps your brain function normally. Is like super cool. And we all recognize that these companies need to make money to like continue operating, right? But then like how far is too far when it comes to, you're essentially extorting people that have no other way to be. At that point, it's like saying, well, if you can't afford it, just die. If you can't afford it, pay.
It's pretty sick, though, because it clearly shows that people who can afford it, like, they're not affected. Because they're like, oh, if I want to get the plus or the premium, Or like I think in the later part of the episode, she found out they wanted to get pregnant. She was like, "Oh, if you want to get pregnant,
It's like
then
an
there's an
extra
add-on
thing, yeah, because
it
the
takes
brain takes, yeah.
yeah, because your brain takes more effort or whatever." And she tries to sell them more, even though they're at her office, literally begging to get some more time because he lost his job, she lost her job, and they have no other way out. So if you are rich, like this is the world we live in. If you're rich and you can pay for things, like it's no big deal. Like you're like, oh, I need to pay an extra $50 a month. Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. So like Netflix or like any service where if you have money, you're like, oh, they're jacking up the price. It's like, like $2, who cares?
Yeah.
But there's the other side of the population that is being affected by decisions like that. And it's kind of like, I want to say the word classism to a certain extent with how these price models are tiered. And this TV show definitely kind of alluded to that, where it's like you're on the basic plan. Oh,
Yeah.
now you're on like the plus plan. Oh, now you're on the luxe plan. It's just we have that today, where it's just like, oh, there's the basic, you have like the plus, and then the premium. So I feel like it's unfortunate, but there are subtle classism stuff that happens even in like our world today.
Yeah.
Which just entered my brain. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Didn't even realize.
Didn't even realize, which is so crazy because, well, maybe that's also a point of privilege because
Yeah,
we can
absolutely, yeah.
probably afford some of these things. But yeah, there are people who can't. And then the episode just ends off on a really dark note because that's basically what's happening in the real world, is that people who can't afford it are usually the ones that get screwed the most, and they get backed in the corner. No one gives a shit, not these big ass companies. And then they're kind of left with no way out except death, right?
Yeah, I think definitely when you talk about subscription models in healthcare, which I'm just gonna put it out there right now, like it already happens. And if you don't need that like help with medicine, obviously you don't know about it, but I'm sure people have heard, oh, insulin problems here, insulin problems there, right? Like in a lot of countries, healthcare is like known as a right. Insulin in healthcare, for example, in a lot of countries, healthcare is viewed as a right, not a privilege. So you look at some very poor countries like Cuba, for example, or like Malaysia, and even like, let's say, the Asian countries that are very developed. Healthcare is very easily accessible, and if it's public, there's a bit of a delay, but like you do have access to it. Canada, we have our own problems, but we have access to it. And the key thing is that certain medicine is like, they know it's cheap to manufacture, they know people rely on it, and so they will not try and use it to make more money, right? Like there's kind of like that don't be a shitty human being kind of like mentality, where there's like, this makes 50 cents to make, and let's not charge like 400. Enter the US. What the hell is going on down there? Because they're just like, oh, okay, we don't have enough workers, but you need insulin and I can make money off of you, so I will extort you until you die.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh no, now there's not enough workers, so like, you guys kind of have it backwards.
Yeah, that's so true. It's just one of those things where it's just really icky, and I think that's the biggest reason why you felt such a visceral reaction watching it too, because it's real life, and it's happening today. And I don't know, like it's sometimes when I watch these episodes, I'm like, it's kind of like you're playing God in a way, because technically she should have died like when they found the tumor in her head. Like she had like a bleak diagnosis, like she was going to die anyway. So you go through all this trouble as someone who can't afford all these subscription bases to keep her alive. It's a different story, I think, if they're rich, right? Because then you're like, oh, you basically can live indefinitely.
Yeah.
But because they're in a position where they can't afford it, like they're just really prolonged. She ends up dying anyway, right? In my opinion,
In
bit
like
of a
the
more
worst
in
way,
the worst
yeah.
way, right? And then he ends up dying too, because how do you live after doing something like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where, how far should technology go before we're like, this is kind of weird, like this is not something you should do? that disrupts the natural flow of life.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree a little bit. I think technology should always keep going forward, right? Like, and the point where you said, oh, like she should have died, I don't think she should have died. Like, the technology was there to let her live. And, you know, we benefit from that greatly today, right? Like, antibiotics, medication, vaccines, all these are all things that were developed. You know, it's not the natural order of things, but for all intents and purposes, why isn't it the natural order of things? Because the tools are already there and the information was there for us to eventually discover it.
Yeah, fair. I guess that's true. But I mean, I feel like, actually, to be fair, that's right. I feel like there's certain cures for diseases right now that we probably don't know about because we're just like regular folk, right? But I feel like if you're rich, like rich, you would know about these things, and that's why you live so damn long.
Yeah. And also, like, even surgeries, dude, crazy that you can do an organ transplant.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
fair.
Crazy that people back in the day broke an arm and they just died from internal bleeding if it was, like, severe. But now we can either put it in a cast or if it's non-recoverable, like, chop it off.
Yeah.
You know, there's just, like, these biological, like, scientific knowledges that, like, we have discovered over the years that lets us say, hey, like, we know how to deal with this now.
Yeah.
We went through 1,000 years of people getting a paper cut and then getting, like, infected and then just dead.
Yeah.
But now we can just be like, just wash your hands.
Yeah.
Right? Especially for women. The doctor that argued, I forget his name, that just basic sanitization by washing your hands pre, like, delivery of a baby was, like, super important, right? And people were just like, yeah, no. Like, that,
we don't
that
need to
makes
wash
no
our
sense.
hands. Let's
Like,
shove it in there.
bacteria is not a thing. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean you can't see it? So then it's just like, but then he, you know, showed that that was the case and proved it with numbers. And then, you know, we see it. We see it now. Like, moms live.
Yeah.
Like,
if we were in that position in that episode, like if I was like gonna die and then you had that lady come up and present that opportunity without knowing about the subscription model or anything, like, so you were his character, would you have said yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think that's a hard situation to be in.
Yeah. I mean, like, as an outsider looking in, you're like, maybe I wouldn't do that because it sounds a bit iffy. But I mean, like, I'm sure that if it's someone that you love in there, and this was the one option to keep them alive, you'd be like, sure, like, of course I want to keep her alive, right?
Yeah, I think the hard part really would be, I don't know what I would do once you realize that, like, oh, this isn't sustainable.
Well, like, you've watched the character just, like, struggle through that too, right? To do, like, really horrible things
to, like,
that you wouldn't
money.
do. Yeah, anything in order to, like, continue paying and continue keeping her alive. So, I feel kind of icky. But I think that's the point of Black Mirror. Do you remember that episode where they put a little chip in their kid so that you can track where they go?
Yeah.
You know? And then the kid just ends up going cuckoo bananas and, like, basically smashing the device on, like, her mom's face or something like that. That's crazy.
Oh my God, and then Apple came out with Apple tags. Next thing you know, it'll be Apple Chip. Apple Chip Mini for the children.
Actually, you know what? We had this conversation.
I can see it.
If we had, like, a little kid who could just wander off, like, the world is a scary place, okay? Like, sometimes I lose Elbert somewhere, and I'm like, where did he go? Like, I would put the Apple tag, like, in your pocket or something, or in, like, a bag.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent. I think that Black Mirror episode went, like, further because you could see what the kid was seeing and, like, have recordings and playbacks and all that. That's weird.
That was weird, yeah. Like, I don't want to see what they're seeing.
Yeah,
I also didn't like... Actually, to be fair, with that technology, I feel like I would have been kind of, like, down for it if it was purely just a tracker. For only, like, a certain age. Like, you know, like, when kids are most vulnerable, like, you don't want them to go missing or worse, right? So it would be beneficial to have, like, a chip so you know technically, like, where they are. After a certain age, you should remove that because they're an adult and you shouldn't be tracking them anyway. But I didn't like the fact that they would blur out anything that would cause an emotional reaction. And you remember they blurred out when the grandpa was getting a heart attack, so she couldn't see.
Oh,
and she couldn't help him. Because I feel like as a human being, you need to develop
That
ways,
emotional maturity.
the emotional maturity and ways to handle high stress, because if not, you're just going to be a very flawed human being.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, there was a video game like ages ago that had a similar premise. I don't remember the name of it, but I remember playing it with my friend, and the premise was that these military guys have a suit and it's just constantly injecting drugs that does that thing where it like prevents your brain from seeing traumatic stuff. So
Oh,
they're like going to
weird.
war and like shooting people, but like the bodies like aren't visible to them. They just disappear after like the threat's been eliminated.
This is a video game?
Yeah, yeah. This
Oh,
is like
weird.
a long, long time ago, like PlayStation 3, you know.
Yeah.
Was a super fun game. I kind of wish I remembered the name of it, but it seems like, you know, this thought has crossed a lot of like creative minds and like, oh, a story or a video game, or like where would you go with it?
Yeah. Yeah, I just thought that part was kind of weird, 'cause I'm like, you shouldn't do that. It's like a part of the natural human evolution. Like as you grow, like you need to
Yeah,
develop these skills. But
yeah,
that one was kind of icky too.
yeah.
Blah.
Yeah, I mean, the emotional development, I think that's a hard one though, because as a parent, you don't want them to experience any sadness.
Right.
But then also you kind of have to be like, this is just life at a certain point. You know, somebody that you love is going to die,
Yeah.
and it's better that you know early on that this is the reality.
Yeah. If you could develop any random tech to help humanity or to their detriment, like what would you make? I
To
know I'm
their
putting no,
detriment.
well, no. I mean, like, because I know how you think, and I know if I structure the question in the first way, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, that's gonna cause a negative impact as well. So, like, regardless of like negative or positive impact, like, what would you make if you could make anything cool? It could be stupid too. I would create like a tech where you can choose the age you want to stay in forever. Like, it won't affect like if you die or anything. Like your body internally will still age as normal, but like externally, like you can choose like, hey, I always want to look like I was or I am when I'm 30, and you'll always just
Mm,
look like that.
yeah. I don't know.
Useless, but yeah.
There's been like stories or books, movies, TV shows about these kind of concepts,
Yeah, probably.
right?
Yeah.
Like I think altered carbon comes to mind because there's a chip that you can move from one body to another body.
Oh
So then
yeah.
like if you're super rich, you can have clones of your body. So
Yeah.
then when you die, it'll just immediately go to the next one. So then you just like keep living forever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
But
could be
then
like, you could change your gender or whatever
yeah, but then
you
they
want
get all
to.
like really fucked up because like you're like, oh, I can live forever, right?
Yeah,
So
you're
then
immortal.
you just like do whatever you want, whenever you want, and you have all this. That's like a whole
Mm,
new level of generational wealth that you never let go of.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. That might not be that great then.
I mean, it could be an amazing technology, but you know, I feel like any great technology will eventually be abused. With altered carbon, these guys essentially live forever. So,
Yeah.
question: if you could live forever, and let's say like you had to live forever,
Oh, I
if
have no
you,
choice. Like I
yeah,
have to
yeah,
live.
yeah, like there's no way out. You just have to live forever.
Oh,
Would you ever do that?
like so I had one decision to make. Like if I want to live forever, do I age, or do I
No,
just I don't age? So I'm like a
no.
vampire. I'm like
Yeah,
Twilight.
you're like pristine. You
Oh,
go in the sunlight,
pristine.
you're all sparkly and shit. All the cars are crashing because like they're being
But
blinded.
I'm not a vampire though, right? I can
No,
eat.
no, you're just a normal human being that just doesn't die.
Can I be killed though?
No.
What? Okay. Well, if I can't die, I stay the same pristine, beautiful condition, and I can't
Forever.
be killed.
Yeah.
Like, is it just me, or does everyone else have that choice? Like, do you have that choice? Or is
No.
it, oh no. So it's just me alone by myself.
Yeah, I mean, you might be like a new Elbert like 1,000 years from now. Who knows? Look at me.
Oh.
My genes will probably pass on.
Okay, so if the people I love also has that option, then yes, I would totally choose it. I think that's like a no-brainer. I'm like, sure, we can all like live and frolic in the sunset forever and ever and ever. And like, because you say we can't die. So even if there was like a nuclear bomb, you can't die.
Oh, that would suck.
That would suck. But then if you have each other, it's fine. But if it was just me, then hell no. I'm not being the only person here.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
lonely.
that would suck. Let's rephrase it a little bit then. For as long as humanity is like thriving, so thriving as in like we're still kicking and like, you know, doing our wars and
Doing our wars.
and you know, doing human-y things.
Okay.
Let's say up until there's like a nuclear fallout, just assuming it's gonna happen in a couple thousand years at one point, would you live up to that point?
No, still probably not, because no one else is gonna hang out with me. I'm just gonna be by myself, so it's still gonna be lonely.
You can make new friends.
Yeah, but then I'll have to watch everyone I love die.
I think
I'll be the only one with like generations of trauma.
Except it's not generations. It's
It's
just
just
you.
me.
It's just personal trauma. Every 80 years, you just get a new one.
It's just compounded trauma again and again.
Yeah.
Nah,
You'll just
bro.
be like, which grandchild are you?
Like, even with Twilight, they had each other. So yeah, no, like if I was by myself, that's so sad. No, thank you. I'm okay.
You can like build a robot.
That's even sadder. It's a robot. I have to build my companions. No, thank you.
Name it Wilson.
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 Elbert. Nah, that's just too sad for me, bro.
Yeah.
I think the beauty of life is that there is eventually an end. And that's why people, you know, like you try and live your life to the fullest. You try and like make the best of it, right? Because there is going to be an end.
I guess that's all the toast we're burning today.
Oh, if you guys are watching the video, there is a little bit of a toast, not a little bit, but there is a toast bread plushie that I got Elbert right behind me. It's really cute. I got it from Amazon. So freaking cute. It's supposed to look like a grumpy toast bread, like me when I'm
it's
grumpy.
hella grumpy.
Yeah.
We should get like one of those like bread masks so that they're just like a bread.
So we can just wear it
Yeah.
during our podcast episodes.
I mean, I feel like at some point I'll just stop showing my face and it'll just be a mask and it'll just be bread. You know, develop a new identity for myself called
Just
bread.
moldy bread.
Wonder bread.
what wonder bread? Well, thanks so much for tuning in, you guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Definitely give us a follow and leave a comment if you enjoy it, because we want to get to know you guys and grow. We need to grow, so please tell your friends. Tune in.
Yeah, and if you don't like us, then don't leave a comment.
Yeah, don't let us have
Just
our hopes
accidentally hit like the 5-star and then just move on with your life.
and then just
I guess.
leave, because that's fine. You don't
Yeah.
have to like us. It's okay.
Or come back. We can be friends. We're allowed to disagree.
Goodbye.